Now just going off again, trying to get a few mackerel. It's 5 in the morning. Lovely morning. Look at that. Flat calm. Smashing really. It's a couple of hours before the low water. I thought I'd get a couple of hours in. Last time we got half an hour and all the mackerel were on the last that ebb, so I thought I'd give it a bit more time today. You can't ask for any better morning than that, can you? Look at that, that's stunning. Water's so flat it looks so ironed, doesn't it? Well, I've just got the jigging machines out and tidied up the rope and anchor from self-launching, and they're jigging away nicely. The water doesn't look too cracky. That's full of slub. Absolutely full of it. Look awful. But I've got to clear a little bit. But there's a little bit of much showing on the sounder. Not much at all. But we can just give it a go. I'm sure we'll get one or two. Well, I just got 4 on first drop. Can't complain with that. They were high up in the water, they were, so I might lift the gear up in the water slightly. That's a nice view that time. I'm happy with that. 2 drops, 2 fish. One did fall off, but that's part and parcel of this sort of fishing. You always lose 1 or 2. Can't help it. Well, that's how you want them, a few more at a time. That's how you make the strings up. 2 fish that time. It doesn't seem to be flipping around and going down the trays anymore. I don't know why. Well, I've had a good drift. You see the drift line. I haven't had any for a while, so I'm going to go back inside or right on the beach and drift out again. As soon as you get in that bit deeper water, you don't seem to get them for some reason. They're right in the shallows. So we'll motor up and go back inside. For some unknown reason, there isn't much fry shown today. I haven't seen hardly any fry yet. I had a few mackerel on the first drop, but I haven't seen any since. But the fry isn't there. Maybe when that tide eases, might be a few more, but only about an hour and a half to the tide, so and the tides are weak as hell. You thought there'd been a few more fry showing with the old mackerel behind them. I ain't had many mackerel, but when you got to get 2 or 3 drops and you start adding a few numbers up. Ain't a huge amount, but that's like 3-4 drops that is, and yeah, it is what it is. Nice to see the fresh mackerel. I'm so excited watching them come up in the water. Well, I like it. Well, I just motored back inside for another drift. When we started getting outside down that bit deeper water, we didn't get nothing. Not that I had a lot this morning anyway. There ain't a lot here. But I'll give it another go. Get up to 20 foot and drift out to 45. Don't see nothing in that deep stuff, all on the contour lines. I'll look through that time. Had 1 fall off, but that's life. Nice to start getting a few. Finally found where they are. That's the hardest bit. For people who haven't watched before, the mackerel setup I got is a Beltronic jigging machine, all automatic. You set it up with programs and settings. It's basically a computerized reel. That then the line go along the boat to a rolling letterbox, come back along the boat, obviously outside the gunnels, and go to a stripper box. The mackerel come over the end of the stripper box. Obviously these rollers here, they then strip the mackerel off. I made an adjustment each side so you can set it up, but once you've got it set up, I ain't had to change it since. Obviously that come down, the mackerel flip down a chute and go into a tub. Bit basic, but that worked for me. I've only got a small boat at the end of the day. It's only a tactile 21. They ain't huge boats. As that tide has eased, there's plenty of fry turned up. Let's hope we start getting a few macks. I thought we'd get a lot more than what we have today. We ain't got a lot. Let's get on back of the boat and have a watch on them lines. More to the tally, lovely to see. I love watching them come up through the water. Well, that's a hell of a lot of fry there in 31 foot of water, and most of the screen is just covered in fry. That's a hell of a lot of fry, that is, isn't it? Jesus, all young herring spawning here, and then fry sitting here for a year or two until they mature big enough and then venture into the open sea. Only one that time, but better than nothing in it. One's a bonus. 5's good, 10's even better. Well, as I drifted out again, I couldn't find any fish, so I come back in the beach. Hopefully there'll be a few more. There's no fry shown on here, isn't very much. They should be very patchy, the fry, just as patchy as the mackerel. I thought I'd have more fish this morning, but that's life, innit? I ain't far off the beach. The beach's only a couple hundred yards off. That's very shallow on this point here. Get ever so shallow, so I couldn't go in too close. If I want to go right and tight, I'd have to go down to 10 hooks a side. But then again, when you go in the deeper water, you want 20 really. Well, there's a few that time, can't argue with that. Nice to see a couple, one knocked off and one went through the stripper bars, but that must have been a tiny little old Dewey. Let's see if there's any on the other side. Another 4. See, you can, 1 minute there's nothing, next minute there's a few fish. It doesn't make sense, do it? It just must be little tiny shoals moving through all the time. Well, the tide's certainly starting to ease off inside. You've got water there, it's lovely and sheer now. Most of that slub and particles have dropped out of the water. Let's hope there's a few more mackerel in it. I don't think the mackerel are a great lover of slub. Obviously they're sight feeders and that doesn't really work very well, do it, the old slub in the water. Let's hope we get a few more now. Well, there weren't a single mackerel that drift. So I'm going to venture out a bit, go on the edge of the sandbank, see if there's anything off there, get a little bit more tide. Tides are really slack at the minute and there's a high pressure, so that doesn't probably help. If I venture out a little bit further on the edge of the bank, let's hope there's a few macks off there, because we're in a damn sight inside here really. Well, that was the first drop on the sandbank. That was a bit better, wasn't it? Can't complain with that. Got about 8 fish on the first drop. 1 or 2 fell off, but that's part and parcel of fishing. Now let's see if there's anything on the other side. That's a bit better, and a few more fish here. Well, as you can see, I'm in the middle of the sandbank. drifting across it. I got them few fish straight away and ain't had nothing since. It's been about 10 minutes. Had them first fish on the first drop and nothing else, but there's a few in there today. A lot more than last trip. But they just seem to be so patchy. You get a few, then you don't get any for 20 minutes, half an hour, and really you want them thick shoals, but we don't seem to get thick shoals around here. Just get dribs and drabs come through. Every 20 minutes you get a few come through and you get some on both sets of feathers, but there ain't a lot here. I'm now moving to the southern. Go up here on the sandbank, drift back over the ripples, see if there's any there. There isn't a lot there. We had one lot on the first drop and that was it. Well, we're now right in the middle of the sandbank. That map is a little bit out of date, so it ain't quite right. But we're now coming up to the shallow bit. That's 18 foot here. As you go more to the north, that deepen up to about 35 foot. So we'll give it a little go here. We ain't getting nothing anywhere else hardly. Got to try different things, haven't you? If you ain't getting fish, you got to move. We'll now just come to the inner edge of the sandbank, see if we can find a few fish here. That's basically slack water now. We've run out of options. I don't think there's a lot of mackerel here. They seem to like a little bit of tide today. Once that tide finished, there's nothing there. But there ain't no fry out here. That's very bleak. Let's hope we get a few more. I think it's getting their last chance saloon. Well, I tried all over the banks outside and up in that first little go, and I had a few. I didn't have nothing. So I now just gone into back in the beach, the first of the flood. There are actually some bait fish shoals here, but I didn't hardly see anything on the sandbank. But that sandbank is deepening up a hell of a lot. That's funny how the bottom changed so much here with this sand. That moved like hell. Well, that's me all done for the day. There's a bit more colour in the water now, the flood's through. The flood's only been through for about 3/4 an hour and I ain't had nothing on the flood at all, so I think it's time to call it a day. I'll put the feathers back in the boxes, all ready to go. We got a few fish today, more than did the other day. Probably got about 50 macks there, something like that. Nothing huge amounts, but it's fishing for you. It was a lovely day. It's now starting to get warm. It says about 24, 25 degrees, and that's warm at sea. So I'm now going to pack up and motor home. Call it a day. Been thoroughly enjoyable though. I enjoyed every minute of it. Just showing there weren't a bit more fish. What I should have done really is that slack water. I should have hauled the pots really, but I didn't. Hindsight's a wonderful thing. We're all hindsight millionaires, aren't we?